Odell Beckham Jr. and comedian Drewski are speaking out after they have been allegedly accused of assault in this amended Diddy lawsuit.
You ever been to one of Diddy parties?
Yeah, I've been in attendance.
In case you somehow haven't heard, some insane allegations about Odell Beckham Jr. has just hit the internet. In a new lawsuit filing, a victim of Diddy is now accusing the former All-Pro and Super Bowl champion Odell Beckham Jr. and Drewski of getting her under the influence, kidnapping her, SA, and then threatening her with violence. These accusations are absolutely wild, but there are a few questions left. How legit are these allegations? Why wasn't this in the original filing? How's this different than the Justin Tucker situation? Does the timeline make sense? But more importantly, will this be the end of Odell Beckham Jr.? Before we get to the content, make sure you check out our brand new baseball channel, Uni Diamond Talk. We're giving away 10 copies of MLB The Show 25 to a subscriber that turns on their notifications on that channel. And now that we get all that out of the way, Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Multiple Diddy lawsuits have been around for a while now, but never have we seen names like Odell Beckham Jr. involved in it. This specific filing has also been around for months at this point, but this new amended lawsuit just dropped on Friday, March 7th. Before I break it down and read the 87-page document, I do want to say this. It is incredible that this document has been publicly available on government websites for nearly half a week, and it took the entire weekend for people to find it. But that's besides the point. Another thing I want to mention before breaking down this alleged lawsuit is that none of these are facts, and none in the lawsuit has been proven to be true in the court of law. But we're going to do a deep dive ourselves and determine whether or not these allegations seem plausible, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't specify that these are just allegations at this point, and some of the allegations are insane. If we go to page 1 of the document, we'll see our first insane discovery. Multiple names like Drewski, Jaguar Wright, and of course Odell Beckham Jr. are listed in this lawsuit. While I know the victim's name is publicly available and listed multiple times in this document, for several reasons I'm going to refrain from using her name. But basically what she's claiming is that Drewski and Odell Beckham Jr. were associated with Diddy and were friendly with him, to the point that on multiple occasions they'd commit felonies including SA and several other crimes we are here to talk about. Now this lawsuit has some incredible claims. Like for instance, on page 17, the victim claims that instead of immediately SAing the plaintiff, defendant Drewski doused the plaintiff with baby oil and then jumped on top of the plaintiff's naked and oiled body, treating it like a slip and slide and knocking the wind out of the plaintiff due to his enormous size. Which I'm not saying if this really happened or not, but it's just imagine telling someone with a straight face that this actually happened. You're telling me that Drewski got oiled up and swanton bombed this lady? For all you know, it could have happened. That's just an insane visual. But what's more insane is that she also claims that John Doe took immediate notice of defendant Odell because when he took his clothes off, plaintiff remembers the defendant being in great shape, especially in comparison to the naked bodies of Diddy and Drewski. It's like I've read a lot of lawsuits for the sake of this YouTube channel, and it's just some of the verbiage is just bizarre. Whether it was Drewski using the woman's body as a slip and slide or saying,
"Yeah, I remember that Odell Beckham Jr.'s there because he's in better shape than Diddy and Drewski."
She basically called Drewski and Diddy fat, which is kind of crazy when you remember this is a legal document that has been submitted to the US government. But that's not it. Look at how they originally referred to OBJ. According to the lawsuit, at some point during this ordeal, the plaintiff remembers defendants referring to another defendant, Doe, as Cornelius. And remember the name because it was odd and unique. Plaintiff has come to discover the defendant Doe Cornelius who SA'd her was defendant Odell. This is interesting because if it is true, that's a terrible alias for Odell Beckham Jr. Cornelius is literally OBJ's middle name. If that's not interesting enough, later on in the lawsuit, the victim claims that when defendant Jaguar said Cornelius, it upset defendant Helena, who said that defendants Odell and Drewski were her clients, and nothing better happened to them, and the plaintiffs better not say anything about them, or she would have the plaintiffs killed. These are just some of the things I can say on YouTube. I can't really get into all the detail about this lawsuit in fear of violating YouTube's rules. But to summarize the document's allegations, she also claims that the group of Diddy, Drewski, and OBJ, among others, drugged, essayed her, held her against her will, threatened her with death, and even caused physical harm to her. If the content in this lawsuit ends up being proven true, and that's a big if considering all this hasn't even been contested in a courtroom yet, that means OBJ and Drewski were literally in a convoy that was trafficking this woman to another house in order to do these heinous acts. But like I said, that's only if this lawsuit is correct. But as of right now, we don't know for certain. These are just insane allegations, but it's important to remember that while this is a real lawsuit, we don't know if any of it is true. We don't know until it finally goes to court and we get a ruling in the court of law. I want to underline the delicacy of these allegations because if it is true, now this is just some downright despicable stuff and the people involved should be punished accordingly. But if it ends up being false, then these types of allegations can ruin people's careers, and even if they're found not guilty, some of these allegations follow these individuals for the rest of their lives. We're gonna get into that later in the video, but for now I want to showcase that after this information came out, videos like this are now insane.
Don't mind if I do. I wouldn't.
I know this is a comedic sketch, but come on, man. This is literally real life foreshadowing. But now that we've covered the victim's lawsuit and her perspectives, it's time to look at this entire situation from the other angle. And trust me, OBJ and Drewski have some good points. After this all went viral, Drewski was the first to release a statement basically calling everything fake, but also making a good point by saying, I wasn't a public figure in 2018. I was broke living with my mom without any connections to the entertainment industry at the time of this allegation. This is an amazing point. Back on the day of these allegations on March 23rd, 2018, Drewski wasn't as nearly as popular as he is now. In fact, he wasn't even active on social media. According to Google Trends, in March of 2018, the month this allegedly happened, Drewski had 0 searches on Google. But how does this help OBJ's case? Well, Odell Beckham Jr. also released a statement calling these allegations false and even claiming he has never been to the town this all took place in. In fact, let's turn the clock back 7 years to March 23rd, 2018. That was actually the exact same day it was reported that OBJ was being sued for $15 million due to another alleged assault. Depending on how you take this information, this could help this point or hurt it. For instance, why would OBJ be in California in order to participate in a Diddy party during the month of a multi-million-dollar lawsuit? Or you could view it as him having a history of alleged assaults and a pattern of actions. With all this information, it's hard to say for sure whether or not this lawsuit is alleging the truth or a complete falsehood. But more importantly, I'm definitely not the correct person to make that call, or even give my opinion on the matter. Only time will tell. I must admit, I find it hard to believe that Drewski, a guy who was at the time living in his mother's house and had literally 0 Google searches, would have so many connections. So much so that he glued to California and attended Diddy parties. Oh, I mean, never mind, he's actually admitted to this in the past.
Ever been to one of Diddy parties?
Yeah, I've been in attendance. Hey, what?
This is a funny clip now that this lawsuit has come to light, but in all seriousness, it's hard to tell if Drewski is being serious or not. Knowing his type of humor, this could easily just be a throwaway joke he made in an attempt to shock people. But in case you're wondering why I'm focusing so much on Drewski in a video meant to be about OBJ, it's simple. We have more publicly available information and a definitive timeline on Drewski. But more importantly, if the Drewski allegations can be proven false, that bodes incredibly well for OBJ because it would already taint a major part of the accusations in the lawsuit. But once again, this is all hypothetical speculation, and I am strictly analyzing the potential outcomes of this situation. But now that we've broken down the entire situation from both perspectives, I have bad news for Odell Beckham Jr. specifically, and it's news that we all feel like is pretty obvious. OBJ's career is over no matter what happens here. Now, firstly, this situation is nowhere near the Deshaun Watson or Justin Tucker situation, which is also another subject that we have a very in-depth video about. This is different for one key reason. Justin Tucker and Deshaun Watson didn't just have one accuser, they had tens of accusers who all had very similar experiences with both athletes. This OBJ situation includes just one accuser, at least so far. I'm not saying he's innocent because we don't know at all, but just based on the information alone, this is different from the other scenarios. But now, here's the main reason OBJ will never play a snap of professional football ever again. 71 receptions, 925 yards, 8 touchdowns. This This wasn't OBJ's stats from last season. These are OBJ's combined stats from the last 3.5 years. Over 30 games played, and he still couldn't crack over 1,000 yards or double-digit touchdown grabs. It's incredible to think that just a few years ago, the OBJ sweepstakes were very real. I mean, even on this channel, we covered the OBJ sweepstakes multiple times. He was taking tours with the Dallas Cowboys, hinted that he may join the Green Bay Packers before signing with the LA Rams. I don't want to pretend that his fall off was shocking, because it really wasn't. He tore his ACL that he somehow didn't even have in the Super Bowl. He faced a setback that kept him out of live snaps for over a year, and was never really the same even when he played with the Ravens or Dolphins. Combine this with the fact that he's now a main name in this insane lawsuit, and that spells the end of OBJ's NFL career. There was already a pretty slim chance he'd make a roster by July, but now teams don't care if he's proven completely innocent. Just the attention alone is not worth rostering OBJ, who will be a backup receiver at most anyway. Is that fair? Not necessarily. In fact, hypothetically, if OBJ is proven completely innocent, I actually feel bad that his name was dragged through the mud. But that's just how the NFL works. If you bring a lot of non-football attention and you are not a superstar, NFL teams will simply not want to sign you. This situation is ever evolving, and hopefully with more time we'll find out whether or not the content of this lawsuit is correct. But honestly, I don't know. I think this is one of those situations that's so sensitive and so serious that it would honestly be inappropriate to make any definitive statements or act like we know what happened for certain. During situations like this, it's best just to wait to see the results of the case. One thing I will say for sure though is it will be interesting to see how OBJ handles this, whether or not it's true or false. For years we've heard rumors of athletes like Des Bryant, LeBron James, Leonard Fournette, and many other players who have been photographed with or seen with Diddy. But OBJ is the first to be accused of anything in a lawsuit, so how he chooses to handle this situation will set a precedent moving forward. Another thing I want to throw in that I thought was interesting is, why does the lawsuit refer to Drewski and Diddy by their nicknames? Even Odell being referred to by his first name is a little odd. I've read some other lawsuits in the past, and usually whenever they refer to a defendant, it's by their last name. I want to mention this because I just generally found it odd. The only reason I could think of that is because the lawyers wanted readers to have continuity when reading the PDF, so they did it because it was easier to maybe follow along. But don't get me wrong, this is a real lawsuit. It's been filed with the government. I just wanted to say I found it odd. I could be wrong though, and if you guys have any other ideas as to why this would be the case, I'd love to hear it. But what I find so captivating about this case is, what's gonna happen to Odell Beckham Jr.? Like I said, I think his career is over no matter what after this, and even if he's proven innocent, nobody will want that type of attention around their franchise, except maybe the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, the last big free agent the Cowboys signed was Greg Hardy, so if OBJ's available, they're not gonna care about this, even if it is true. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about all this? Do you believe the lawsuit? What do you think is gonna happen to OBJ in the media? Will his career be able to rebound from this? Do you think we'll ever see him play in the NFL again? Or is this the end of Odell Beckham Jr.?